Have you ever noticed that enough is just never enough? I mean, like you get one thing and you just need or want something else. I mean, it could be as simple as like, you have a piece of cake and then your mind immediately goes to, gosh, I wish I had some ice cream with this cake, right? Why isn't the cake enough? Well, stay with me and we'll explore this together. It's a very interesting topic. So why is enough never enough? I'm not sure if you're ready to go here, but this is a big, deep conversation. So away we go. This has to do with what we call, or what is commonly called, our ego. Now, a lot of people have a concept of what ego is, and there's lots of different things that it can mean, right? It's like any other word. There can be lots of different definitions or nuances to it. Now, typically, ego, Freud is the one who made ego really famous, right? And I actually just heard that it wasn't even him, it was his translator who came up with that word. Ego, and I think it's in Latin, means I, right? So ego has to do with a sense of self. That's what most people think. It has to do with a sense of self, a sense of self-esteem, a sense of self-worth or identity. And of course, this is true. I think all versions of ego are going to have something like that involved in them. Now, in the spiritual world and in spiritual talk, the ego is typically considered not just a sense of self, but a false sense of self. So as we start to uncover this element to ego, we start to get closer to why is it that enough is never enough? So if indeed our ego is a false sense of ourselves, what does that mean? Well, it means something like this. We have this incredible thing we call our brain, and it's excellent at recording data. And so we're going about our lives, starts right away pretty much, right? We're going about our lives collecting data. Well, as we're collecting it, it doesn't just go away. Actually, some of it we say, ooh, I like this, and some of this we say, ooh, I don't like that. And we store it all away in our heads, in our memories. And this memory, this storing of information is what we end up calling ourselves. It's what we end up saying, this is who I am. I'm somebody who likes football and doesn't like poetry. Or I'm somebody who's very spiritual. I like vanilla ice cream and I don't like chocolate. And I like this type of person and I don't like that type. This is who we start to think of as ourself. Now, in the spiritual world, this is why they would call it a false sense of self. I actually forgot to mention a very important central theme to the ego. The ego is going around collecting all this data, and it's thinking that it's collecting all of this data that's outside of it. And what I mean by that is, it always has a sense of being separate. That I'm over here and you're over there. As it's doing that, it's collecting all this data and it's coming up with all these likes and dislikes. This is what we normally consider to be us. It becomes our personality. Here's the revelation and the beauty of spiritual work. None of it is true. None of that is who you are. It's something you've become attached to, but it's not who you are. So here's the thing. There's some part of us, including the ego, who knows this is true. It's haunted by this reality that actually its whole sense of identity and reality is not true. It's built on a lie. The first one is you're not separate. I've talked about this many, many times, but you think you're your arm, but we could remove your arm. You don't think about being the air, but if I remove the air, no more you, no more body. So which one are you more, right? The arm or the air? This is a way of understanding that you're not as separate. There's so much in your environment that you can't take it away. If you took it away, you wouldn't be there. But you don't think about that. But this is a reality. So this is part of showing you that you're not as separate as you think you are. So that's the first thing, that's built on a lie. It's not true. The other one is, well, I like this and I don't like that, and I'm this way and I'm not that way. The truth is almost all, if not every single one of those things can be changed. So it can't be who you really are. Who you really are is something deep inside, the treasure that I'm always talking about. This is the true self, capital S, not the small s, right? Now here's the thing. because of this haunting feeling inside that knows something's awry, something's amiss. What the ego tries to do is fill this hole. Now, it doesn't like to look at the fact that its whole basis of reality is not true. Instead, it searches to find things that are pleasurable, actually, to try to hide the fact that it feels deeply insecure about its own existence. So this is what it does. It runs around chasing this, chasing that. It's what I always call filling the hole. It's trying to fill this hole, fill this hole. And it's also why it doesn't work, because it's not dealing with the essential issue of this falseness to itself. This is the crux of spiritual work. The crux of spiritual work is to realize this thing I just said in all its nuance and detail, which, by the way, is a lot, and to let it go. When we let go of that false sense of self, we find our true self, which is always joyous. It's always full and complete. It's built on truth. So it never has a sense of lack like the ego does. That's why it's always feeling the sense of lack. So it's searching here and there and everywhere, trying to fill it, trying to get a sense of itself. That's the big difference between the ego and the self, capital S. That's a lot to think about, but I'm going to leave you with that. And I'm going to encourage you to check it out. Pay attention. There's a part of you that's never happy with anything, right? I mean, it can be happy for a minute. But I encourage you to look at the place inside of you where you don't even need any of that. There's a place inside of you that you feel okay. Now, you may not be familiar with this part of yourself, but it is there. And the best way to find it, as I've been saying a lot lately, is to let go. Now, what does that mean? One of the best ways is to just take a deep breath and let go. Relax. That's what they call relaxing, right? And it feels so good. That is the true you. I thank you for your time. It's precious.